Now to former Secretary of State Colin Powell. He is a Republican, and now he is slamming his fellow Republicans, accusing the Republican Party of looking down on minorities.
I think the Republican Party right now is having an identity problem. There's been a significant shift to the right, and we have seen what that shift has produced: 2 losing presidential campaigns. The country is changing demographically, and if the Republican Party does not change along with that demographic, they're going to be in trouble. There's also a dark vein of intolerance in some parts of the party. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is they still sort of look down on minorities.
Former Congressman Alan West joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Greta. How are you doing?
I'm very well. And as you might have imagined, when former Secretary of State Colin Powell talked about the dark vein of intolerance, the Republican Party still sort of looked down on minorities, that has seized the attention of many. And I wonder your reaction to that.
Well, of course, I have to disagree with General Powell's remarks. I'm not going to get involved in some type of circular firing squad. But I think that those of us that are African-American, that are conservatives, and himself, he can recall some of the attacks that he received when he was Secretary of State, and exactly the same thing that I've received. Tim Scott, the senator from South Carolina, Mia Love, who was a congressional candidate. So we have seen a lot of attacks that have come from the left against black conservatives, and it seems to be that that's a very interesting target of opportunity that the left seems to feel that they have, and they continue to go back there. So there's a bit of a hypocrisy and a bit of an irrelevance in the statement that General Powell made.
So just so I'm clear, is that his statement, I mean, he says that the Republican Party is essentially guilty of those things. Are you saying that it is that it's hypocritical and that it's the liberals or the left-hand side of the political spectrum that's doing this, or are both parties sometimes look down on minorities?
Well, I can tell you this from personal experience. When you have people that run ads against you calling you a war criminal, or you have a whisper campaign by left-leaning groups such as Greta accusing me of spousal abuse, or you see some of the other ads that were run as far as me punching older white women, that would be something that if it was ever done by Republicans, it would be absolutely not tolerated. But yet you're allowed to do that to black conservatives. So I think that General Powell, instead of making a very generalized statement like that, I have never been looked down upon in the Republican Party. I never felt minimalized or marginalized by any fellow Republicans.
Are you surprised that General Powell said that? I mean, does that surprise you? I mean, you know, people think of him as a Republican. He has endorsed President Obama on 2 occasions, 2008 and then recently in 2012. Many people think that he has now moved to the Democratic Party or to the left. Is this, any thoughts on whether or not that this is sort of an indication that he is leaving the party, or is this do you think he thinks of this as a fair criticism?
Well, the motivations of General Powell, you would have to ask him about that. I cannot speak to the mindset of why he would say some of these things. But when I think about the principles of constitutional conservatism, I don't think that's moving to the far right. I think that it's been proven in the history of this country that limited government, fiscal responsibility, individual sovereignty, the free marketplace of ideas, and a strong national defense are best for America, and ensures that our future generations have all the opportunities of previous generations.
Now, let me shift to Fitch warning that it may downgrade credit, the American credit, if the debt ceiling isn't raised. Your thought on that?
Well, it's so important that we get this debt situation under control. And I think that once again, when you consider what we're doing to our future generations, you know, our children and our grandchildren currently who have $53,000 of debt upon them, we're eroding their possibilities and their opportunities in this great society. So I think what we have to have up in Washington, D.C. is the seriousness to look at the true problem, which is a spending problem, look at our mandatory spending programs, and we have to stop the exorbitant amount of spending. We have to say, finally, we're going to stop this debt and we're going to get serious. And I think Fitch is very appropriate in saying that if they don't see a curtailing of the spending, then they're going to downgrade us.
Well, we're going to keep our eye on this, because certainly all eyes are on this this debt ceiling these days in Washington. If you'll just stay with us, though, Congressman, we have much more to talk to you after the break. But first, there is good news for the nation's veterans. The nation's largest retailer, Walmart, now offering to hire every veteran who wants a job. Walmart expects to hire more than 100,000 veterans in the next 5 years, and that is welcome news because the unemployment rate for veterans has been higher than the national average. Walmart president and CEO William Simon is a Navy veteran himself. He says that vets are team players and quick learners. Walmart's new hiring program will start on Memorial Day. Any veteran who is honorably discharged in the last year is eligible. And straight ahead, a rapper with 11 children by 10.
My name is Greta. They say I'm the first lady. I'm the baby mama with the most power because I control Charlotte's finances. Everybody good? Anybody need anything else? Then we have Angela, a.k.a. Chocolate, and she's the fighter baby mama.
That's a clip from All My Baby's Mamas. And just a short time ago, the Oxygen Network announcing it is pulling the plug on the extremely controversial reality special. In it, you get in close and personal with rap musician Shawty Lo. He has fathered 11 children with 10 different mothers, and he can't even name all his children. Shawty Lo recently defending himself to MTV News.
Like, so they talk about, okay, hey, he got this many kids, this and this, this and this. But like I tell them, it's a lot of fathers don't take care of one. A lot of fathers don't take care of one. I had to deal with 11. I got to deal with 9 girls and 2 boys. So, you know what I'm saying, y'all take that responsibility. You can hate all you want to, but, you know what I'm saying, I didn't ask for it. It just happened.
So rapper Shawty Lo defending his lifestyle, but apparently it was not enough to keep his show on the air at Oxygen. Oxygen finally getting the hint, the network putting out a statement that it has reviewed casting and decided not to move forward with this special. Former Congressman Allen West is back. Congressman, first of all, I wonder who was thinking over at Oxygen to think it was a good idea to begin with, but your thought about this reality show.
Well, I will have to make the statement. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, and I find it absolutely appalling that something like this would be occurring in my hometown, where, you know, family values were once upon a time a fundamental and foundational principle in the black community. And I think this is a sad indictment of what we see, as well as there's a young lady down in Tampa, Florida, that has upwards to close to, I think, 12 or 13 children from several different men. So this is some of the challenges that we have for the future of our next generation, that we cannot allow this type of incredible cultural shift to occur, and think about what that does to those children.
Well, they even take a step beyond the idea that an entertainment organization thinks they'll make money off something that's obviously not a good situation. I mean, you know, 11 children with 10 different women. You can't even name your children. And some entertainment agency thinks, boy, that's a great way for us to make a buck.
Well, that's horrific, and I think that that shows a bit of a depraved mindset of the individual that thought that this would be a good topic for a reality TV show. It was horrible, but I will applaud them for hearing the outcries from the community and all across America and pulling this show.
Typically, I would too, but if I can't even believe it got this far, so it's very hard for me to applaud them now, because I think it went through so many different layers. I mean, how many different people passed on this and didn't have the good sense to know that it demeaned African Americans, it demeaned women, and everything else. I mean, how many people were stupid before?
At least they did do the right thing.
Okay, we'll give them credit for that.
At least they did do the right thing.
Okay, so what are you doing, sir? What's your latest? What are you up to? You're no longer in Congress. What are you doing?
Well, this is a great segue. You know, I've joined PJ Media, and I'll be the director of the Next Generation program. And the key thing that we're going to talk about, we're going to look at the news, the current news, through the lens of young Americans. And we're going to start to stand up for that next generation. We want to be able to engage, you know, the grandparents, the parents, the children, and the grandchildren. And we're going to be rolling out internet TV programs. One of the programs I will have starting on the 4th of February, along with co-hosts Michelle Phillips and Michelle Fields and John Phillips, who is a talk radio host out here, will be Next Generation Today. But then in March, you will be happy to know that our studio will be 2 floors above you there in 400 North Capitol. And we will start focusing on the legislation and the policies there, and we're going to start talking about that news. We're going to bring out newsletters. We're going to have social media, Facebook and Twitter, and we're going to have live shows and going across the country in different conferences in the upcoming future. So I'm very excited about the fact that I get to have that open discussion. I have a platform to talk about that which is great about America, how the previous generation always wants to make it better for the next generation.
What a contrast in terms of, even with that reality show, I mean, where the reality show goes to sort of, you know, the things that don't work in society culturally, where, you know, the many kids with the many different women, the single parents, to your show where you're trying to educate and inspire. Very big difference.
It's a very big difference. And, you know, I'm the father of 2 daughters, 19 and 16, and the responsibility I have is to ensure that they have greater opportunities than my parents ensured for me. And when I have my oldest daughter, who's a pre-med biology student down in South Florida, and she wants to be a doctor, you know, getting her to understand and explain to her and many other medical students out there something like the healthcare law, or when we focus next generation startup businesses and entrepreneurs, get them to understand the financial system and some of those ramifications. And one thing that's really close to my heart is we're going to be focusing on those next generation guardians, those young Americans between 18 to 25 that are out there making sure that we live in the greatest nation the world has ever known.
Congressman, thank you. I look forward to seeing you when you come back and you're 2 floors up from here. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greta.
Coming up, police.